Hello, probers.
Straight into it.
Welcome to But It Was Aliens, the extraterrestrial comedy podcast brought to you by two of the greatest insignificantly significant MIBs in history. I am your very disgruntled host this week, currently cursed and going through the worst losing streak of my life when it comes to sport. King of the street grannies, the prince with the perfect peach, and the bestest of best friends, because it is now official. Granny Moonwalker.
Yar.
And sitting opposite me is the grey one that seems to suffer this fate when he is in fact placed on my team, that comes out smelling of roses even when his team goes 5-0 down. Some fucking one happens and they still win. I'm sorry to bring up football so early and bore half of you, but those that know what I'm talking about, just imagine being 5-0 up and then your goalkeeper pulls off an Andre Onana howler masterclass. Not one, not two, not even three, but 4 fucking goals go in unfucking challenged.
I scored from the edge of my own area with a clearance.
Unbelievable. Anyway, enough of my sorrow.
Never enough.
Let's take a look
Never too much.
at some matters of extraterrestrial importance.
And impotence.
In the 1980s, a group of miners turned poachers.
I got love for you. If you were born in the 80s. The 80s.
In the 1880s?
The 80s?
At Padswood, near Mould, were disturbed by a swirling ball of smoke.
Oh.
With tongues of flame from a UFO.
It was a dragon.
Buckley, a historian. James Buckley.
Buckley historian James Bentley. Buckley's a place.
It is. Buckley historian James Bentley claims that some striking coal miners encountered a UFO way back in the 1880s.
The 80s.
He was informed of the story by 2 relatives of 2 of the eyewitnesses.
Ooh.
The miners were not being paid correctly. They were being starved of wages and therefore being starved of food. A gang of miners. A gang, Kevin.
A gang.
A gang.
A gang. Arr, we're a gang.
Gang. Arr.
Arr.
Dared to risk poaching on land belonging to one of the mine owners.
Mine?
If they had been caught, it would have meant eviction and possibly transportation, which is why the following story was kept neatly under wraps for so long. Neatly.
Family story.
It was a clear black night, a clear white moon, as the miners crept down to some fields at Padswood to collect some snares previously left there. Suddenly, they felt tense and afraid, as if someone was watching them. Glancing up, they saw a large, purplish red, luminous ball hovering above them.
Shiny ball.
Silently. That means very quietly. No sound.
Look at the shine.
It descended into the next field. At first, the terrified poachers hid under their nets, but shortly before daring to peer over the hedge.
Over the hedge.
A swirling ball of smoke with small tongues of flame issuing from the base was lifting off the ground. The men legged it, and they legged it home and made a pinky promise to never talk about it. Clearly, someone broke their pinky promise, and several days later, the bravest of the bunch returned to collect the gear that they had left behind in their panic.
Greediest of the bunch. Gonna sell it.
There was no sign of the UFO, but where they had seen it land, there was now a wide black circle of scorched grass.
Butthole in the ground, if you will.
So to summarise,
What?
miners turned poachers saw a bright purple light, hid, and then claimed to never talk about it once they ran away.
And then they did.
And then they did.
And
there's a poached egg.
Why is there a poached egg?
Poachers.
Oh, of course.
Also, that
Wait,
looks really delicious.
That is a bloody good looking poached egg.
I want a poached
That's
egg.
been slightly seasoned. I'd like some sausage and bacon with that egg.
Oh, protein. Protein. I think I want to buy some bacon when I leave here.
Right. So this feels like it's been a pretty short episode. Miners saw UFO, mark in the ground where UFO was. Fiery told their family members and it was passed down, hence why we have two witnesses related to them. I'm in, but I feel like you haven't really given me much.
So, Greybeard, are you saying that this is...
Well, it could have been an
aliens?
asteroid is the problem.
Or not?
Because something coming from the sky and leaving a mark in the floor could have been a little Burnham rock fallen from the sky.
Could have been.
I'm in that these people saw something. If he was that scared thinking it was aliens, would he have gone back to get the gear? I find myself asking myself.
The bravest of the bunch went there. Not all of them.
Well, but was...
Only the brave.
Yeah, even so. Look at the machine. Aye. You went for the fragrance. I heard it went somewhere else.
You went for the balls.
Every time I hear that, it's autonomous. What? I don't really know what to say. I've got nothing to question their honourable and trustworthy nature in that they saw what they say they saw, but there's been no studies to verify that it was an alien or out of this world craft of sorts. Could have been a meteor or asteroid, little tiny one. Beep, beep, beep.
Okay.
Little P.
Aliens or not?
Not, I'm afraid,
Okay.
at this point, unless you give me more.
It's a beautiful Christmas morning in the city of Gosford, Australia.
Clear dark night.
According to testimony from former air traffic controller Lindsay Carter, it was a quiet morning as he headed north from Sydney. Looking ahead, Carter saw about 1.5 miles away a silver metallic object in the sky. It wasn't a plane.
It was Superman, but we just summarised.
We ourselves say that multiple witnesses add to the authenticity of a case. So here's another eyewitness to the silver object. Housewife June O'Hare, who saw the UFO move over the water. New Year's Eve. Numerous calls had been made to local authorities reporting a UFO. So that's not just 2, but maybe 4. 4, Kevin. Sergeant Bob Wenning claims that all of the callers reported a huge ball-shaped object with bright lights on the bottom and observed the UFO sucking up water from the lake.
I was about to ask if this is the same UFO and whether these two places were near each other, but I think one was in America, was it? Mold? Wherever mold is?
Mold.
Meld? I'm guessing not.
Other witnesses claimed to have watched the unknown object move over the waters for as long as 15 minutes.
Sucking up the lake.
They stated that they had never seen anything that looked like what they saw that day. Eyewitness Margaret Howe watched the same damn object.
God damn.
She reported lights coming out of the water and the object moving over the water. She could hear the sound of rushing water as it began being sucked into the mysterious craft. After a moment or two, the UFO returned the water to the lake.
Well, that seems a bit unusual. Did they just need to wash their vehicle?
The local newspaper reported the incident. The article spawned numerous callers to phone the newspaper, saying that they too had seen the UFO. The group of callers represented a vast cross-section of individuals: lawyers, doctors, teachers, and more people from professional professions to make it more legit. Some of the witnesses described several beams of light emitted from the craft's bottom to the water, with the surface of the water being highly disturbed. Other callers reported being awakened by a loud sound, with their pets acting strangely. The police were baffled. UFO researcher Moira McGee launched an investigation with eyewitness reports and calls to any and all possible launching sites for airplanes, helicopters, or any flying craft. These inquiries brought no evidence as to the origin of the UFO. So to summarize, we have multiple eyewitnesses that saw a silver craft. It moved across the sky, drained water from a lake, and returned it back, and then flew off.
I'm confused as to why you keep ending the episode. I'm further confused as to whether these two incidents were related.
Why the confusion?
Because you haven't told me if they were related, so I don't understand why they're in the same episode if they're not related.
I still don't understand your confusion.
You know that episode we did quite recently where Mabel was in the car and then next thing you know
0 to 100.
there were harvested eggs and she just told you that there was these
Matty feet, Bruce's hybrid eggs.
and it was like she was talking to you as if you'd been part of a conversation with her for like 20 minutes when you had no idea. I feel like you're doing that to me a little bit here.
No.
Yes.
No.
You're giving me like slivers and I'm not clear whether there's a connecting bit of tissue you're going to tell me later or whether there's no connection at all and you're just pissing around with me.
I'm just giving you all the information.
About which one?
As it comes.
As it comes. Is this coming to you right now? Message. This one felt more credible than the last, I'll give you that. Multiple witnesses.
Multiple.
And the fact it took water up, you could theorise as to why. It's doing something. It could be cleaning. It could be analysing the water before giving it back. It could be for sport. Maybe they fish water like we fish. Not me personally. There's
boring.
different... Did you just call me boring for not
No,
fishing?
I said, yeah, it's boring.
Oh, fishing is boring. I was going to say you don't like it as far as I know.
boring.
So you could put several different theories together as to what's going on with this one, which gives it a bit more credibility. That's what I thought.
Sullivan County, July 1989. This is from the perspective of the interviewer.
I'm confused.
I interviewed 2 eyewitnesses today. One, an elderly woman. The other, her son. For the sake of clarity, I'm going to name them Sally and Kevin.
What, Sally?
I love the fact that you questioned Sally, not Kevin.
Well, Kevin's a good name.
These witnesses related to me a sighting which took place in the summer, July of 1989. The 2 witnesses were sitting under the edge of their carport, enjoying the pleasant night. And it was about midnight
When their conscience came into play.
when Kevin came into play. Kevin noted a very large and burning object moving straight at them, very low on the horizon. Both witnesses began watching as the object passed slowly overhead. Separately, they described the object as being almost wing-like and slightly swept back on its extreme ends. The object was seen to be burning intensely and dripping fire.
Oh, like the first one.
Much like burning plastic, they described that as the object passed overhead, the fire was dripping straight down and not trailing behind it as it moved, and that it was of a relative size equal to their arms spread wide, exceptionally wide. The object passed them and moved off to the southeast, continuing to drip, drip, drip fire, and past Holston Mountain in the distance. The object, it was out of view. A deep, intense rumble was heard from the direction of the object. The object was noted to have been moving very, very slowly. The duration of the sighting, agreed to by both witnesses, lasted at least 1 minute, possibly more, possibly less. The primary witness called the FAA office at Tri-City Airport and was told that nothing was or had been present on radar. He also called the local sheriff's office, and he was told that many calls that came in, and they did not know what it was. Having checked catalog sightings for more approximate dates, we can arrive at no conclusions except that it must have been one hell of a fantastic sighting.
Fantastic.
So to summarize, 2 people saw a thing.
It dripped fire, Mr. Moonwalker. Fire. There was drippings. Drip. 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 I don't really know what to say about this one. 2 people saw a thing.
It dripped.
The far. Covered it up. I don't know what to say about this one.
So, are you saying this is aliens?
This one could have been military tech, if anything. The FAR have said there isn't anything there, so either it wasn't picked up on radar, or they're covering it up because the military have asked them to. It feels more military than alien. There's nothing this thing is doing that feels alien to me.
Okay. January 5th, 2000. Illinois. Apparently, it was fucking cold. So everyone who could was staying warm inside. But not everybody had this luxury. Melvin Knowles' livelihood was his miniature golf course. And worried that something may have frozen there, he braved the cold. Braved it like a strong man.
He was brave.
That cold night, he went and made sure that everything was okay. When he arrived, he noticed what he thought was a very bright star on the northeastern horizon. He thought nothing of it at the time and finished checking out the golf course. After satisfying himself, and also being satisfied that all was well, He got back into his truck to head home.
He just got out and jacked it. What?
As he did, he could not help but notice that the light was still there and even more visible than before. He watched it for a moment and it suddenly seemed to be coming straight towards him.
It's coming right for us.
As it came nearer, he could see red lights shining towards the ground. As it came even closer, the object appeared to be as tall as a 2-story building and as long as a football field. He could now clearly see windows and a brightly lit inside.
Flight of the Navigator, baby.
He could not hear a sound from the unknown object, and fearing that he would be laughed at if he could not provide proof, he quickly made his way to the local police in Highland. He relayed his story to the dispatcher, and she agreed to pass the information to the next town in the object's path, which was the Central Communications in St. Clair County. They in turn relayed the report to the Lebanon Police Department at approximately 4 a.m. A Lebanon police officer hearing the radio report spotted a bright object which seemed to suspend in the sky. He could clearly make out 2 lights, very close to one another. The policeman, with lights flashing, raced to the southeast, hoping to get a better look. He watched the unknown object as he drove, and after a few moments noticed that the 2 lights had merged into one. The object seemed to be changing course and moving directly toward him. At this point, he stopped his patrol car and rolled his window down. To his amazement, he could very clearly see a triangular-shaped UFO pass over him, an altitude of 1,000 to 1,500 feet. Then, the UFO quickly changed its course, moving in a westerly direction. The sighting was corroborated by a policeman from Shiloh, who described the object as being shaped like a black arrowhead.
Ooh.
And I have proof, Kevin.
Do you now?
Proof.
Do you?
Yes.
Am I allowed to look at the proof?
You are allowed to look at the proof.
Is that the actual photo?
Yep.
That's very Phoenix Lightsy, isn't it?
Would you like to describe what you see?
I see an older gentleman looking up towards the sky. In the sky, there appears to be a black triangular craft with a very bright light towards the front of it, slightly off center. There are 4 lights towards the back side of it and a circular red light on the underneath. I'm just trying to work out the lighting. In the background you can see the moon, then you can see this very bright white light.
I don't think that's a moon. I think it's just the angle.
Okay.
You know, like the reflective lights when you...
Because then there's a really big faded circle around the whole thing, and I was trying to work out what that is. Whether that's just a light artifact or... Yeah, I'm not really sure, but this looks very similar. I forget what the craft is called now, but there's been photos of that kind of stealth black arrowhead looking military vehicle.
Yeah, I know which one you're on about.
Yeah, the name escapes me at this time.
Same.
Interesting.
As the giant triangular UFO moved from his view, the Lebanon police officer radioed St. Clair County emergency dispatch with his report. He advised them of the object's direction and requested that law enforcement officers be notified in Millestadt and Dupo. Officer Craig A. Stevens would be the next person to see the UFO in Millestadt, and his report is as follows. And I have that report here just for you to read while I go for a pee.
The moonwalker likes it in his butt. He likes it in his butt. He likes it in his butt. Mr. Moonwalker likes it in his butt. But.
The report that was just for Kev to read, I will read to you all. It's on January 5th, 2000, at approximately 4:28 a.m., one officer, Craig A. Stevens, was on patrol in the village of Millstadt. He goes on to say, I was monitoring radio traffic when I heard a report via CENTCOM that the Highland Police Department had a report of a large object flying in the air. CENTCOM dispatched Lebanon PD to respond. Later, I heard Lebanon state that he observed the object and that it headed in the direction of Shiloh, and to have Shiloh PD be on the lookout for it. I then heard that Shiloh had spotted the object. I drove to the east end of town to see if I could observe the object. Then I drove to the north in the Ledenkrantz Park parking lot. While I was sitting there, I observed a very large flying object coming from a southward direction. The object was flying very low, from 500 to 1,000 feet, and was flying very slowly. The object was making no noise. I could only hear a very low decibel buzzing sound. Sounded like a vibrator. Then the object began banking to the northeast direction and continued to cruise away from me towards the area of Dupo. I contacted dispatch and advised them that I had spotted the object. I exited the patrol car and took the Polaroid camera from the trunk and attempted to take a picture. The camera was very cold. The temperature was only approximately 18 to 20 degrees outside, and the picture did not seem to exit the camera properly. I heard Dupo PD advise CENTCOM that they quite possibly observed the object, but it was at a very high altitude. I returned to the station and drew a rough sketch of the object and typed a report of my observations.
Okay. That's a beautiful sketch of the observations rather than the object.
Yeah, I thought that too.
I drew a sketch of the object and then the sketch is actually of the path of the object.
Yeah, we don't have a sketch of the object whatsoever.
You can find it in St. Louis.
Lebanon.
Okay. Again, this one feels very, very, what do they call it? Black military tech. Secretive ops. Doesn't really feel alien-esque.
What?
But it does feel unusual. Stealth craft, I think, is where I'd lean on this one.
So to summarise, a guy saw a light while satisfying himself at his mini golf course, then saw a giant 2-story object heading towards him.
Oh, it's giant.
His first thought was, no one's going to believe me. So goes to the police station to notify them of what he saw and what direction it was heading in. The officer notified the other police station to the object's course. They passed it on to the next one, who sent it to an officer to take a look. The officer saw 2 lights, followed it, the 2 turned into 1, and then he wound his window down. The giant triangular object was above him. He tried to take a picture with his camera, but it was very cold and the picture didn't come out. He wrote his report and passed on the information.
This one feels more official, quite a bit more evidence here. The evidence points towards military tech, as I said. The only thing that I find slightly unusual is that it was 2 stories high. That feels... Yes, high. High. That feels quite large for stealth tech.
But it's a UFO.
Well...
It's not stealth tech.
Well, it's unidentified. Even if I say it's stealth tech, I don't know what stealth tech. I haven't identified it.
Extraterrestrial spacecraft.
Is that what you think?
That's what I'm trying to get you to think.
Yeah, this one feels military as well.
So you don't think it's an extraterrestrial spacecraft?
I don't think this one's
Then
extraterrestrial.
I've done a shit job.
God damn it, the string continues. I've got nothing further to add on that one.
So are you saying that this is extraterrestrial?
I'm afraid I am not saying that it was aliens.
Are you saying that any of the 4 stories that you have heard today are extraterrestrial in nature?
Not extraterrestrial, but I've only said that one is bullshit. The rest I think are just mistaken.
Aliens?
Well, 2 I said were military. I can't remember the other one.
Aliens?
What did I say on the other one?
Aliens.
I think I said it felt more credible because there were more...
Snillia.
Pardon?
You said it was Snillia.
What's a snillia?
Aliens in reverse.
Really? No.
Okay. I believe
Do you believe?
all 4 episodes are bullshit.
Whoa.
They're all
complete bullshit.
They're all bullshit. Every single fucking one of them. I don't believe a single one. Not one. Especially the golf course jacker. That is not
Tell us how you really feel.
aliens.
The golf course jacker. Imagine if that was your superhero power.
Jack off on golf course.
Really good.
No, didn't believe a single one of these.
What was the connection?
There wasn't.
Just 4 random stories.
Just 4 like
Okay.
really short stories I thought I'd combine into an episode.
No, absolutely.
Thank you for joining us for this week's probe. You can find us on Instagram at But It Was Aliens, Facebook at But It Was Aliens, and we also have our Facebook group, Extraterrestrial Towers, where we drop memes of mummies and shit. We are also on Twitter at But It Was Aliens, and on Patreon.com/But It Was Aliens, where you will find Side Probes, the spin-off of But It Was Aliens, where we probe ghosts, ghouls, hauntings, pirates,
Yar.
dogs, Rasputin's dick, the
Yes.
pegging prince, and much, much more. Now for something completely out of the blue, here at But It Was Aliens, we do not do adverts, but I'd be remiss to advertise my own business again. During the day, when I'm not actively researching aliens, I am a PT and have now decided to take my business online. If you are interested in being trained by the king of the street grannies and the prince with the perfect peach and would like to have buns of steel yourself, then head on over to gwpersonaltraining.mypthub.net/my site. You will also be able to find this link in the description. As always, I have been the bestest of best friends, which is now official from himself, the bearded one, Kev in the grey. And he's been the grey one. Kev in the grey.
So much less celebration for me.
Okay, let's celebrate you a bit more, shall we? He is the tallest
Oh.
mofo in the world with the greatest grey beard you will ever see in existence. It's luscious, it's soft, it's supreme. It will glisten in the light of the sun. It will have princes bowing down, princesses spreading their legs. He is
Why?
Kev in the grey. #bro.
Rob.